Hi everyone, welcome to today's session. This is a continuation of yesterday's session. Actually, yesterday we have looked into how to identify a particular feature in a dataset, whether it is a numerical feature or whether it is a categorical feature. The logic or intent behind identifying this is we should ask a question. So, whether that particular feature it can be measurable whenever we apply any arithmetic operations on it. So if we are able to apply that arithmetic operation, whether it will give any meaningful interpretation. If it can, then it is a numerical variable. Maybe there can be certain features where we cannot apply arithmetic operations to get any meaningful interpretation out of it. So it can be a labels or identifiers, or it can be any class type of representation. For example, like rating or city. These all represents a kind of labels or identifiers, right? So these are categorical data types. So this is what we have seen yesterday. So we should always ask this question while we are identifying what data type it is. In today's session, we are going a next step ahead to further classify into a few more subsets of numerical and categorical data types. So we already know whether if it is a we can get a meaningful interpretation out of it. So still there can be, for example, I can give you an example like number of employees or number of emails. Okay, so we are getting a number of emails or number of API requests. Okay, so we are capturing this kind of information in the data set. Emails maybe sometimes we get 20, sometimes 50, sometimes 20, 75, sometimes 5. It depends. So, and same way, number of API requests, maybe this can be measured in terms of or counted in terms of like in every 6 hours or something, or in every day, or it can be any duration. So this number of API requests, it can be like it can be 21, or it can be 20, or it can be 50, or sometimes it can be 0, sometimes it can be 5. We don't know. So these values, right? If you look at these values, whether the number of emails it is measured or it is counted, we know still they are numericals. We can apply any arithmetic operation. We can ask what is the email average emails that received over a month. Correct. We can apply any arithmetic operation to get, so we will get some kind of real interpretation out of it. So, but this values, right? If you look at these values, that is observation, you should ask a question whether this is measured or this is counted. 20, they are counting that number, one email, two email. We got how many emails? This is countable, right? So, if a numerical data type and if it is countable, then it is called as discrete data type. Okay, so if it is countable, then it is discrete data type. And the other, what is the alternate of it, is like continuous. For example, I can give height of a person, height of a person, or it can be weight of a laptop. Okay, imagine height of a person. Maybe I just consider 125.5 centimeter, or 155, or 133 or centimeter. It can be. So, and the same way, weight of the laptop, it can be 12.2, and the values can be like 17.6 or 13.5 or 10.2. It is different values that we get for weight. Now we should ask a question. We already know all these four, right? All are numericals. We can apply any arithmetic operation on it. But when you look at the height of the person and weight of the laptop, whether these are countable, they have counted this value to get this 120.5, or it is measured. It is actually measured. When we measure only, we will be able to get this kind of values, right? Within specific range or ratios. So if it is measurable, then it is continuous. So this is the question you should ask, whether a particular feature, whether it is a numerical or categorical. And if it is a numerical and still that particular values, that observations are countable, then it is discrete. Uh, and in case if it is a measured one, then it is a continuous. So this is the two different data types of under numerical. Similar way we have it for categorical. I will go with nominal. The other one is ordinal. Okay, let's see some example for that. So just take an example. For example, I can take a blood group. Okay, so here we have A positive, O positive, AB negative, or O negative, or B positive. It can be any of. So do you see any order in this? They all are labels, but they don't have any orders, right? They have an equal importance or equal, like they are equal in categories, right? They does not have this is higher range, this is lower range, so this is of high priority, this is of low priority. Each one have equal levels within the categories. So this type of data is called as nominal. Say they don't have no orders within them. They don't have orders. Okay. So then you can guess what could be an ordinal. If it has orders in nature, the data has order in nature, then it is ordinal. For example, let's take, okay, um, let's take an example, maybe size of any dress. Okay, so it starts from like xs, then yes, then maybe medium, let's give medium, then L, then XL, then double XL. So if you see here, there is an order within them, right? Lower to higher orders. So this kind of data is called as ordinal. So this is how we have to identify the data type. So overall we have identified whenever we get a data set, we have to identify whether it is a numerical feature or categorical feature. And we can go still one more step to identify what type of numerical feature it is, whether it is a discrete or it is a continuous. Same way to categorical data type, we have to further go and classify or identify whether it is a nominal, whether it is order or not, and whether it is an ordinal which has an order. So this is how we have to identify that particular feature. There might be a question, so why we need to identify all these things? So in our upcoming sessions we will get to know so how much this identification of the data type will be helpful. Whenever you see any numbers, you're identifying any data set a feature as a numbers, so it does not mean whichever having a numbers it is numerical. It is not always. For example, employee ID or phone number, they also have numbers, but still we should ask a question whether it's still an identifier or labels. See, ID, employee ID is like an identifier, right? We cannot apply what is the average employee ID. We cannot perform any mathematical uh, operation over it. So it does not give any meaningful interpretation. So we should know if even if it is a numerical, we should ask a question on it whether this is still a numerical data type or categorical data type. I will give you the another tip. Sometimes we see decimal values, right? So even we would have identified this particular feature is a numerical, but that particular feature values it may contains decimals. Even if it is containing decimals, it does not mean it is continuous. It is not always. Still we should have a question whether it is counted or it is measured. If it is counted, then it is discrete. If it is measured, then it is continuous. Maybe let's take 2 minutes and do a small exercise to identify the data types. Let's take this exercise and maybe you can take 1 minute and you can pause it and you can work it to yourself and we can check it after 1 minute. So, employee ID. If you think about employee ID, what comes into your mind? So, employee ID, it might be having like one, two, three, or it can be any one not one, two, one not two. It can be of like a, it will be in a sequence, right? So, they all are numbers. So, we should have ask a question whether we can apply any arithmetical operation on it. So If can I ask whether what is an average employee ID? So whether it gives any meaningful interpretation, whether we will be able to achieve it? No, it cannot be countable or it cannot be measurable, first of all. They all are identifications of a person. So they are identifiers or actually labels, we can call it. So employee ID is of categorical variable, and whether it has an order? No, it does not have an order, right? So it is nominal. So it is an because the reason is it is an identifier. Moving to the next one, number of complaints. So we are getting number of complaints. So it can be 10 complaint, 20 complaint, or 21 complaint, 22. So it is of numbers. Complaints will come in numbers because we are representing it as number of complaints. So we already know this is numerical because we can calculate or put any arithmetic operation on it. The next question, whether it is a discrete or it is a continuous. This compliance, it can be counted or measured. It is counted. The reasoning, because it is counted, so obviously it is a discrete. Delivery time. What is the delivery time for the particular product? So it can be of time. Time is of measured, right? So because it measured, it's already answered. It is numerical and it is continuous. Moving to the next one, low, medium, high satisfactions. We already know these are labels. This is the values that we will be having in the feature. So now tell me whether it is already states it is a categorical, because the reasoning is it is having the labels. And does it have any order? Yes, it has an order, right? Low, medium, then high. So this has an order in nature, therefore it is ordinal. Annual salary. What is the salary of a person in an annual basis? So it represents about an amount we can measure or we can apply any other particular operation over it. So this is obviously numerical and it is continuous. Correct. And pin code. So pin code represents, it identifies something about which location we belong to, right? But it does not have any order. So already we have very clearly mentioned it is representing or identifying a location. Identifying a location. So it is an identifier, obviously. So it is a categorical. And also whether it is an order? No, it does not have order. All the pin codes are same in the order. It does not have any order, obviously, right? So it is nominal. Then goes to education. Education, it is like diploma, bachelor, or postgraduate or masters. So it is a label or identifier again. So it is a categorical. And if you ask me whether it has any order, we can say we can go with like bachelor's and then master's, and then it can be very any other like a PhD. It goes in a certain order from low to high, right? So it has an order. So this is ordinal. I hope you have learned and you would understand so how to identify the data type. Thank you so much. We'll meet you in the next video.